George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Ahmeed Turner is the executive director of Say Yes to Education. And about a year ago, they came under the governance of the Central New York Community Foundation. And Ahmeed, look, this is great, right? I mean, more stability, more support for the program. So Say Yes to Education was a landmark program. Syracuse City School District years ago was like the first citywide school district to have a Say Yes, and it's expanded and changed a little bit over the years. But we're here to talk about what Say Yes is. There's a new report card out that talks about how the program is done. And all throughout this process, Ahmeed has been a part of it. So Ahmeed, welcome to the program. And first of all, let's talk about this new partnership, to me, with the Central New York Community Foundation.
Thanks for having me, George. Yeah, so the Say Yes Syracuse program is now under the Central New York Community Foundation. And the Community Foundation is a great home. They have been the steward of the endowment the entire time. And they have been a good, positive, neutral broker for all of the partners involved at Say Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the, I guess, whole approach to this is to provide students with a blanket of support as they move through kindergarten to 12th grade. And that's with wraparound supports, after school programming, all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about Syracuse is they implemented all these systems level changes so that this is just happening. And it's not a Say Yes thing. It's not a whatever. This is just part of how we support students. And you know, it's been my pleasure and privilege to see that evolution and continue to offer students a tuition guarantee scholarship at the end that they can take advantage of.
So so now here's the devil is in the details. How to say yes? How does it work? And it's changed over the years. It's different because before it was everybody, and now some of the colleges have some income restrictions. But let's talk about how it works.
So this is exactly how it works, George. It is a last dollar tuition guarantee. So what that means is at any of the college partners that we have in our compact, the students can go and their tuition will be guaranteed through a combination of federal aid if they're eligible for federal Pell Grants. If they go to school in New York State through New York State aid, and it's called TAP, that's Tuition Assistance Program.
Mm-hmm.
Any federal grants like Supplemental Education Opportunity Grants. And then after all of those grants have been applied towards tuition, the institution or Say Yes will guarantee the balance on tuition. So it's and it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but basically that is how it works. We partner with over 100 private partner colleges all over the country, and then we partner with the entire State University of New York system and the entire City University of New York system.
And from my understanding, it has changed over the years. In the beginning, there were no income restrictions. Some of the schools do have some income restrictions, but pretty much most everyone in the Syracuse City School District and other, I believe also the charter schools as well, are eligible, correct?
That is correct. So students that attend a state university, a SUNY school or a CUNY school, there are no income restrictions, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if you attend a private school, there are many private schools who have an income restriction, and the family income is $75,000 or more. Mm-hmm. If your family makes $75,000 or more, then you're eligible for something that's called a choice grant, which is $5,000. And if your family income is less than that, then the institution itself will guarantee tuition for that student. Two important things. Syracuse University, our anchor, our champion institution, has no income limit. So it doesn't matter if you are a Say Yes student, you will get the tuition guarantee. And at the University of Rochester, their income limit is $100,000 and not $75,000.
So really, and I know part of this was incentivizing, obviously, local students to consider getting the education at Syracuse University as well, but also to give them the opportunity to get the education wherever. Now, here's where it gets tricky for students, right? You
Yeah.
have to get into the schools, right? I mean,
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, and I know that sounds simple, but it's not. Not that it sounds simple, but it's a reality. You got to first be admitted before any of this can kick in. It's not just you're not carrying this around with you. You got to be
Right.
admitted
Right.
to the
Right.
school, right?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. One is that you have to be in the Syracuse City School District for at least 3 consecutive years leading to graduation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. For high achievers, it's 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. So that's just to meet the eligibility criteria, and you have to be a resident of Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that was the Syracuse City School District has been improving steadily since we launched with them in 2009. The graduation rates have been trending up. And part of that was incentive for people to consider moving back into the city.
Right.
Then the other part for Syracuse University and really all of our college partners, SUNY, CUNY, private, whatever, just because you meet our eligibility criteria does not mean that you automatically get accepted into any college that we partner with. They have their admissions criteria. So it is really incumbent and important for the student to do the best they can while they're in high school so that they are admissible to the college that they're applying to. But just because you have a say yes status does not mean you automatically get accepted. You
And
really,
is
really need to work hard.
and I see you're taking particular care to explain that. Has that been sort of confusing for people, or are you
The
just making it plain?
the whole process, George, it can be a learning experience for students and families, especially for first generation students, but even for families who have everybody went to college. I mean, the financial aid process can be. I would say it's akin to completing your own taxes. If you have a person that's prepared your taxes for you, you probably don't even think about it. But if you try doing that yourself, it can be layered and it can get confusing. So we just try to educate over and over and over again exactly how the scholarships work. And not only that, but how the financial aid process works in general. What are direct costs? What are indirect costs? What is tuition as opposed to the cost of attendance? Those are two
Mm-hmm.
different things.
Mm.
What does it mean for you to have room and board? How much is that going to cost? Do you want to eat twice a day, or do you want to eat 3 times a day, or do you want to eat twice a day and have a snack? These are all things to consider when you're looking at the cost of college.
Talking to Ahmeed Turner, he's the executive director of Say Yes Syracuse. I got to make sure I say Yes to Education Syracuse, right?
Syracuse.
Because
That
it's
is correct. That is correct.
Syracuse. I mean, it's interesting because there were over the years. I know that you had external supports as well. Like even as in the early rollouts of it, there were like after school and other kinds of programs. Do you still have some of those supports for students today? Or how do you support the students today once they are a Say Yes student?
That's an excellent question, and thanks for asking it. So, yes, in the beginning, Say Yes came to town with seed funding. And what they did with that was we started after school programming in all the schools, all the K-6 schools, elementary schools. And also we started to put together supports in all the schools. And that was in the form of family support specialists, which later on grew to mental health facilities in all the schools. And the facility is a person, which later on grew to um, legal clinics everywhere. That's still going with the Volunteer Lawyers Project. So all of these things are still happening, right? But they're not happening they're no longer being funded by Say Yes to Education. They're being funded locally. And the partners here were really, I would say, creative about thinking about thinking of how to support those things so that they're continuous. Onondaga County has completely changed the system in the way that they support students, and they're trying to be proactive instead of reactive.
Mm-hmm.
They want to provide supports on the front end, which really saves them millions of dollars on the back end for people that need public support. So all those things are still happening, but they're not called Say Yes. They're just part of the way this community supports students now.
All right. So you're saying those supports exist, they just exist in a different fashion, and the
Yes.
students can get support in the community. So what's the report card? I mean, how has Say Yes to Education and the promise of it, what has been the impact of this program?
Yes, so we released our 2019, 2020 report card, and our students are performing well. We continue to persist at a rate higher than the national average. We continue to, our college partners retain students at a higher rate. Our anchor, our champion school, Syracuse University, retained 98% of its students. So they do a really good job of supporting their students. And then our very large college partner, Onondaga Community College, retained over 60% of its students. So, and that's huge. Both of those are huge. They're way above the average, the national average. When I talk about persisting, that means a student started at one college and went to any college after that. This past year, we were over 85%, and that's the national average is 82%. And I think what we're learning, George, is that, you know, student performance is one thing, but the other thing, which is really characteristic of Syracuse, is that our students are resilient. They're Syracuse tough, they're Syracuse strong. So what we're learning is that they could take a lick and keep on ticking, right? They can go through some setbacks and they're still going to enroll, and they're still going to try to complete their degree programs and seek out whatever it is their career dreams are.
And how have graduation rates been affected? You have a statistic here in your highlights that the combination of Black, Latino, and Asian students exceeds the graduation rate of white students, and then and suggesting that that's also breaking through what you describe as systemic racism. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, that's really a homage to our partners. The high school graduation rate has trended up since 2009. This past year it was at about 70%. And when we look into that, we're really closing the gap on the graduation rate between Black students, Latino students, and white students. So when we started in 2008, there was a huge gap. White students were graduating at a much, much higher clip than Black and Latino students. And this past year, that gap has actually been closed. And I believe in the case of Black students, they graduated at a higher clip, slightly higher, and Latino students are right there neck and neck. So what I would say to that is that the Syracuse City School District has been innovative about offering multiple pathways to graduation, especially through P-TECH programs. The state has been instrumental in changing what the graduation requirements are so that more students can graduate, and they didn't dumb it down. They just did it in a way that makes it more equitable and fair for people to get graduation. And then, you know, the city and the county with the wraparound supports. A really important statistic to mention is that in 2015, we saw about a 6-point jump in high school graduation. That was the first class, 2015, that received all of those wraparound supports and after school programs and all of that stuff. And so we were trending up by maybe 1 or 2 points every year. And then in 2015, it skyrocketed by 6 percentage points. And so, you know, I wouldn't say that that is all because of Say Yes, but I would like to say that we, in some part, played our part in helping to bridge the gap there and increase high school graduation.
So how do you apply?
It's really easy. If you are in 12th grade, your senior year, and you're going to college, I would advise, when you know which college you're going to, students can apply right now, but when you know which college you're going to, you go to our website, sayyessyracuse.org. As soon as you go on there, you'll see a button that says apply now, and you click it. And after you click that button, it will ask you for some information. You click I'm a new student, you go in and verify the information, and then you tell us what school you're going to. And after that, you're golden. We'll contact the school on the student's behalf to confirm that they're enrolled, and then we'll request all the information we need to process a scholarship for them.
So when you say confirm that they're enrolled, because a lot of young people, their financial aid package will determine whether they're going to be enrolled.
Yeah.
So how does that piece fit into it in terms of timing, right? Because decision day is sometime in April or March or something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't what do you know? Do you know what day it is?
Usually it's either May 5th or May 15th. That's for most schools, but it varies.
It varies. Like when they let you know, like when you have to let them know, but they tell you you're accepted sometime before that. So when you say I want to go to Syracuse University, right? Then Syracuse may not have given you your package yet. So how do we see what I mean? So I'm just trying to figure that piece out.
That's an excellent question. So what we do with our college partners, some of them, actually many of them, when the student is applying, or if let's say they make it through admissions and they're offering them something, they will contact us and with a list of students saying, hey, can you let us know if these are Say Yes students?
Oh, okay.
And so what we will do is let them know, but we also let them know if the student needs to complete our application or not. So we can tell them, yes, this is a Say Yes student, and they can develop a financial aid package and say, this is what you could potentially get if you come here. But for us, oftentimes, George, students don't know exactly where they're going to go until around June.
Okay.
So what would happen is students would complete the application like in November, and they would have 20 schools. And then we wouldn't know which of the 20 they're going to. And then they contact us in July or August, and they're like, hey, I'm at the school, I don't see Say Yes. And we're like, well, we didn't know which one of these 20 schools you were going to. So that's why I say wait until you know exactly which school. But for timing purposes, we do all we can to work with our college partners, or even to work with students. If they tell us these are the schools that they're applying to, we'll contact the college to let them know this student is Say Yes eligible, so that they can make an informed decision.
And what schools do the young people typically go to? The private schools, the public schools? You mentioned CUNY. For people who don't know, that's City University of New York. That's all of the CUNY schools. I think there's 13 of them in New York City. That young people can also go to. Now, do you know, I mean, when I don't know why, I mean, I hear them in Syracuse, and I'm glad I made that choice, but I could have gotten free tuition when I was a student. City University was free, right? It was, and they incrementally started to charge tuition. But when I was in school, you could essentially free tuition. Now, that didn't mean books or anything, but I was so bougie. I came to Syracuse University, and that's, paying all that daggone tuition. But I could have just gone to someplace, Baruch or Lehman or whatever it is. And my high school, believe it or not, was right on the campus of City College, literally City College of New York. At the time, I went to the Music and Art, High School of Music and Art, which was right on 135th Street and Convent Avenue in Sugar Hill, for all y'all who know anything about the city. And so our school was smack dab in the middle of that campus. So even as a high school, the kids that were going in between their classes, they would have to walk through literally our high school to get to their class. And that's when my high school was uptown. Now it moved to Lincoln Center. It's not uptown anymore, but City College is still there. And so I just wanted to point out that I came to Syracuse University instead of going to one of the CUNY schools. But so my question, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say our breakdown. So I remember the question. Our breakdown, um, slightly more. I wouldn't say a lot, but slightly more students go to public colleges than they do private.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
just from looking at the cost of tuition at any school, any four-year school in the SUNY system, tuition this past year was $7,070.
Mm.
So, when you're looking at the breakdown of how much it costs, really, where most of the, um, with a higher percentage of what you're going to pay when you look at SUNY schools, it's really going to go towards room and board and fees and things like that.
Right, right, right,
Which,
right.
when you take that out, so if you take tuition out, just room and board and fees is going to be anywhere north of $15,000.
Mhm.
So you can look and see tuition is relatively cheap, but all these other things are you have to consider that. But that said, there's still a large number of students that go to the private partner colleges too.
Mhm.
Syracuse University, man, they have the largest number of students at any four-year school. It's over 130 students there that are Say Yes students. And then, Lemoyne College has a large number of students there. Colgate, Cornell, I can't name them all, but they all do very well and they support our students. And so, whatever is the student's preference, private or public, they will be supported.
Last question. I mean, obviously, Say Yes is there. People can also give to Say Yes if they want to. I'm sure you're happy to help
Yes.
people along that line, right? You can
Yes.
also give to the program.
Yeah, so if they want to donate, they can contact the Central New York Community Foundation. We are fully endowed, but that said, we are still looking at how we can support students, how we can work with our college partners as they progress through college. And we're really trying to be innovative with, um, um, you know, whether that involves some sort of monetary support or whether that involves looking at our partnership and helping the student leverage what resources are already there on campus, or looking at our partners here, Onondaga County, the city of Syracuse, the Syracuse City School District, the Central New York Community Foundation. Whatever it is we can do, we're always trying to do more to support students. So if people want to donate, they can contact the Community Foundation.
I wanted to quickly address something you said. We're fully endowed now. There was some concern years ago as to whether the program could continue.
Yeah.
So saying that it's fully endowed, meaning that storm has been weathered, if you will.
Yes. So, we will be able to award students, almost forever,
Mhm.
unless the cost of attendance or the cost of tuition skyrockets in a way that the endowment is not able to meet it.
Mhm.
So that's what, for our community. So we raised $30 million. And for the Syracuse community, that is a tremendous feat. We were able to raise $10 million, thanks in large part to SRC with a $5 million matching grant. And then we were able to leverage $20 million from New York State. A couple of years ago, they had the Upstate Revitalization Initiative, and our community submitted an application. And part of that application was the Say Yes to Education endowment. So we're very, very happy about that.
We're gonna call you Mr. Say Yes because this brother can spit it all out. Mr. Say Yes to Education. Ahmeed Turner, Executive Director, and Say Yes Syracuse. What's the website?
SayYesSyracuse.org.
SayYesSyracuse.org. Last dollar scholarship opportunities. Make a long story short, after all your aid, Say Yes will kick in and get the balance of your tuition. Don't trip. It ain't about room and board. That's something else.
No, that's something else.
Tuition. But listen, I mean, always good to see you, and continued good work on the work that you're doing in the community. And I just need 30 seconds. Tell me a little bit about your background and where you went to school and how you got to be this executive director.
Well, I am a Syracuse native. Went to Nottingham High School. I did go to Bishop Grimes for a couple of years, but I'm a city. I went to Nottingham for 9th grade, then I graduated for 12th grade. I then went to HBCU, and that's Black Historical College or University, called Cheney State. And then from there, I moved to Washington, D.C. I worked there for a little bit. And then I came to Syracuse University and I got my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I went on to work for Say Yes to Education. I started there in 2009. I became the executive director in 2018. And then I just recently completed a Master of Nonprofit Administration from Notre Dame in 2020.
All right.
I think it's 2021. Excuse me, not 2020.
That's this year. You just did it. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Congratulations. All right, brother. We appreciate it. And I got to credit Vicky Brackens because she says, find out how your people got there. So there we go. That's
that was a very serendipitous path, but here I am.
Here you are. Well, we're glad you're there and continue success. Say yes, Syracuse.org for more information. Say yes to education. Ahmeed Turner. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, George. Thanks for having me.
Inspiration for the nation. All right, Ahmeed, I got to run and do my other interview, but good to see you, my brother, and blessings to you and your family. All right.
Right back at you. Peace and
blessings. Okay.